Hi, I'm John McKee, and this is Building with John. In this series, we will be building an acoustic guitar. Welcome back. Last time, we assembled our sides together, and we added kerfing strips, and we assembled both our top pieces and our back pieces. In this episode, we're going to attach the top to the sides. This is our top. You notice it's very thin, very weak. When you add the pressure of the strings to your guitar, this thin piece of wood has a tendency to warp. So what we need to do is brace the top so it doesn't bend too much under pressure. Now I could just say, well, if I don't want it to bend, why don't I just make it thicker? Well, it's a balance. So you want it to not bend too much under the pressure of the strings, but you still need it to flex enough to make sound. Because if you make it too stiff, you're not going to get very much sound out of your instrument. If you make it too thin, or make it too weak, you'll get too much pulling from the strings, which will warp your top. We have our top, and the first thing to do is decide which side you want in to the guitar. That's the first thing we're going to work on, is the side that we want in. And we laid it out last time. The figure on this side is better than the figure on this side, so this will be the inside of our guitar. So the first thing we want to make sure we do is sand that inside. So I'm just simply going to use my palm sander. Be careful if you have a spruce top. Spruce is a softer wood. If you sand too aggressively, you could take too much off. I just want to get a nice smooth surface, and as with any sanding, you work through your grits to get a nice surface. Now our top is sanded smooth, ready to start working on our layout. So the first thing we'll do, and you'll notice I attached our sides to another board. That's just to keep it square while we're working on all our assembly. Keep it all squared up in the right shape. So the first thing we want to do is trace our guitar shape onto our top. Now, what's critical here, making sure that we line up our center of our sides with the center of our top. Now, then we'll just trace around so we know what size our guitar is when we're laying out our braces. I'm going to sharpen my pencil. So now we have our guitar, and now we will go to the bandsaw and we will cut out that shape. We have our top cut, so now we will lay out our braces. This guitar will have a 25-inch scale and will connect at the 15th fret. So I look at my fretting chart and I see that the 15th fret is 14.5 inches from the nut. So that means I have 10.5 inches to the saddle. So I will lay out where my saddle is going to be. So that's 10.5 inches from where the neck is connecting, and I will mark it. So my saddle is going to be in this area. So then I want to mark where my where my hole is going to be for my guitar. And in this case, I'm going to make it 6 inches in from where the neck connects. And we're going to make a circle just to mark out where that is. We have where our hole is going to be. So the next thing we want to mark is where our bridge is going to be. So if our saddle comes across here, our bridge is going to be a little bit closer, and this is just approximate, and a little bit further away. So we just mark it square, and we can say it will be approximately, for this exercise, we'll make it approximately 4 inches long. That's plenty. Again, this is not exact here. This is just to give us a sense of where our braces need to be so that we don't get in the way of the functioning of the guitar. So the other thing, what you have through your bridge is where your strings are connected to the guitar top with pins, so you have holes down through, and so you don't want your braces to go across where your holes would be. So I'm going to mark, we want 3/8 holes 3/8 inches apart, so we will just mark all our holes. Oops, see if I can mark them wrong, just so we know where those holes are. So I'm going to take my braces and I'm going to say I want them to line up at the edge of the bridge. So I'm going to go to the corner of where I marked my bridge, and about 1/8 inch away from my sound hole, and I'm just going to draw a line. Remember, this is just a guideline. Then I'm going to mark the width of that brace that we're going to put across there at about 1/4 inch. Now I'm just guessing, because I can go off my first line for index. The second line is really just to show, just to illustrate where that is going. So I'm doing about the same off the corner where I marked that 4 inches for my bridge, and we'll just run a line and then double it up about 1/4 inch away, just so we can see how that brace is going to line up. And we see, when we look at it, we see doing that, we have where our holes for our bridges are going to be, holes through our bridge are going to be, are not interfered with by where our braces are going to be placed. So then, from there, we mark the rest of our braces. The brace in the back is less critical because there's not a lot of pressure across this part of the guitar, but it does help strengthen it. So we will add a brace across the back side. So we'll add a brace across the upper bout, and our brace will go approximately like that. So now on the lower bout, where most of the pressure is, this is where we need to add our more important bracing. Underneath your bridge, you have a bridge plate. Now, this is an oversized bridge plate just for this demonstration, but your bridge plate reinforces the back, so when you drill those holes through your bridge and put your pins in, it doesn't tear out the top of your top with the pressure of those strings pulling. So we'll have a bridge plate in this space, and our bridge plate doesn't need to be huge. The bigger it is, the more stiffness it gives to the top. So it's a balance of how much stiffness you have versus how much vibration. So I'm going to mark here that my bridge plate is going to fill this area. So then I can mark where my braces are going to be. So I mark this brace. I want to come close to where that bridge plate is. It doesn't have to be right on it. And we'll mark where we're going to put it. So we will mark it here. And then we will add two more, which are going to come from, I'm going to mark from this corner to the corner where our mocked up bridge marking was, to the corner of that other brace. We'll add our thickness. So there we have our layout, and we are ready to make our braces and glue them on. We have our brace material that we're going to shape and put in this guitar. This brace material is Sitka spruce, just like the top, which is good for its vibration properties. So we'll mark these and cut them down to size. Unfortunately, our cross pieces that are going to make our X are already the right size. So let's mark the rest of them, and we will cut them all to length, and then we will shape them. So now we have all our brace pieces cut, and now we have to shape them. So what we're going to do, we're going to scallop either end of each brace. And at the end of each of these, I'm just going to trace the scallop that I want. So I've marked all of my pieces, and now let's go to the bandsaw and rough cut the shape. So there we have scalloped ends on each piece. The cross pieces are going to be scalloped out in the middle where they connect, and my upper bout piece will be scalloped in the middle so that I can have access to the neck. So my X pieces cross each other, so now I need to mark where they're going to cross, so I can make I do a cutout so that they will lay flat and fit together. So I'll lay it out on my layout lines, and I will mark where those are. So on one I'm going to cut a notch in the top, and the other I will cut a notch in the bottom, and in the end they will all fit together nicely. So we've cut our notches out of the two X pieces so that they fit together. And lay flat on our top. So now we're going to smooth up all of these parts before we do assembly. And to do that, we will use a sanding drum. Now all our pieces are smoothed up. We'll hit them with just a little sandpaper before we assemble. So it looks like we are ready to glue our braces in place. So it's as simple as any other glue-up project. I am going to start with my X brace because it's my biggest piece. So add some glue. Spread your glue. And then place it in place carefully. Simply take some heavy toolboxes, just like we did for the top, and set them on, and that will hold it flat in place, ready for our next step. So we've let our braces dry overnight on our top, and you can see our glued on brace pattern. If you look, the braces come all the way over to the edge, so we have a little more work to do before we can attach the top to the sides. If you recall, the sides we added the kerf strips to, which gave it thickness, so we have some gluing area. So we need to remove a little bit of the braces around the edges in order to be able to fit that top onto the sides. So the first thing we need to do is know how much we need to take off the brace, how much space we need around each edge. So I'll take some calipers and I'll just mark how thick that side plus kerfing strip is. Then on the top for each brace, we'll mark from where the edge line is over, so we know where we need to just do a little trimming. So now that we have all the ends of our braces marked, now we need to trim them off. Now we'll simply take a chisel and look at our marked line and just trim the end off. Now we've trimmed off all our braces. Let's fit this on top of the guitar and see how we fit. So we want to make sure our joints of our top lines up with the joint of our guitar sides. And so it looks like this brace right here is just hitting a little bit. So let's trim that one just a little bit more. Now let's fit it again. We want to make sure our joints are lined up. And that is lined up. That is lined up, and if we feel around, it sits down flush, sits down flat, all the way around. Before we can assemble our top to our sides, we need to make sure that our top edges are nice and flush. Now, I'm going to do this with just a block with sandpaper. You could also use a chisel or a card scraper, whatever you're comfortable with, just to remove those high spots and make it all flat. Now that we have smoothed it, leveled it, I think we are ready to assemble our top. Before you start gluing, make sure you gather every clamp you own, because this takes a lot of clamping to make sure you have even pressure all the way around your top. So we're just going to start by adding a bead of glue around our kerfing strip. Then we'll take our top, we will position it, make sure it lines up the same as when you were dry fitting, so that the joint in the top lines up with the joint in their sides, and then begin adding clamps. And as you get your first clamps on, especially, make sure that everything still lines up. So we'll leave that to dry and come back to do the next step.